So I work as a nurse, and for my first few years, I was definitely flipping around different shift times, like starting at 3 a.m. or 7 a.m. So I would say the past like 9 months or so, I tried to get into a normal routine of working the same hours, but I think my body just became so used to flipping around so much that I was having a really difficult time being able to fall asleep like within an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I would wake up never really feeling rested. Um, I do have a sleep disorder, so I do require more sleep. Usually, like I try to get 9, 10 hours if I can, but it was getting to the point where I'd be lucky if I was getting 5 to 6 on any given night. So definitely had struggle falling asleep, staying asleep throughout the night, and then definitely felt like I was waking up way earlier than I'd want to. It would depend on the night. I was using Benadryl pretty frequently, especially on the nights before I would have to work a shift just to ensure that I would get some sleep. And then if I felt like I was getting to a point where I wasn't able to, like I had a lot of nights of poor sleep, so then I would like utilize ZQuil, and then usually I'd get a lot of sleep with that. But I got to the point where I was using those so frequently that I mean, there were nights I'm taking Benadryl and ZQuil and melatonin trying to fall asleep, and it still really wasn't doing anything. So it kind of got to the point where I felt like my sleep problems were becoming so detrimental that it would be the night before a shift and I wasn't sleeping, and it would be a couple hours before my alarm would go off, and I always was having to call off on shifts because I felt like I wasn't going to be awake or alert enough to be able to work a 12-hour shift. So I work as a psychiatric nurse, so I know a lot about CBT already. So that's kind of what drew me to this app, and it's definitely been the right move. I really enjoyed it. I would say maybe within the first like 2 to 3 weeks, I think that's when I really started to notice like, oh, I'm not having to rely on over-the-counter medication as much to fall asleep. It definitely was a struggle trying to adapt to that set routine because I definitely was a person that if it was my day off, I'm not setting an alarm. I'm gonna go to bed whenever I want and try and catch up. So those first few weeks of trying to say, okay, you're going to bed at the same time, you're waking up at the same time, even if it's a day off. I'd say once I got used to that, that's when I kind of started to definitely feel more refreshed during the day, which was something I hadn't experienced in a hot minute. I think I definitely like being able to track my sleep each morning, and I like the weekly recaps that we get to do where I also get to see the improvement I've made over the course where like the little updates that'll say, oh, you've had your the time it takes you to fall asleep is 20% less than it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever. I like being able to visualize my progress. And I definitely do like having the accountability of a sleep coach. It feels more personalized, and I get to share what unique things maybe had happened that week that would have affected my sleep. I like that it's not just like a one size fits all program. I really like that it's personalized to your own schedule. Oh, it's been really good. I mean, she messaged me the beginning of every week asking how the weekend went and how the last weekend went. And then usually depending on our schedules and how fast we get back to each other, we could spend like the entire week talking about goals I have, what's been working, what hasn't been working. She's definitely been really supportive, which I appreciate. And is definitely willing to like work on different ideas with me of like it not even just okay, what can I do the night before to sleep, like what can I do the next morning to ensure that I continue to get a good night's sleep, building like a morning routine and things like that. So she's been really helpful. Some of them for me. And there's definitely been a lot of little changes that I've been implementing that I didn't realize were having such an effect, like using the blue light on my phone right before bed, or I like a lamp in my room that's color changing, saying that like, oh, using warm lights like yellow or orange before you go to sleep is a lot better than blue. There were some things I learned that I think I also didn't want to hear, like, oh, trying to turn off technology and screens an hour before bed, which is definitely not something I'm used to. Um, So it definitely did show me a lot of little lifestyle adjustments that I could make to overall help my sleep. Absolutely. There's a couple of my coworkers, I've been letting them know about it as well because they definitely go through similar struggles of just working weird hours, going back and forth, always complaining about how tired they are. And I I'm a big believer that if there are ways you can change your behaviors to fix your sleep rather than having to rely on over-the-counter medication and melatonin and things like that, I'm all for it. It's been really nice. And I like that when I finished the initial, was it 8 weeks or 12 weeks? The
8 weeks.
first 8 weeks, yeah. It was nice that I was given the option to extend it. And I could kind of, if I didn't want to do the entire program all over again, there were certain aspects I could still pay for, like the mind spa or just the ability to track my sleep or not. If I did want to continue with the coach, I really liked the flexibility of after the 8 weeks, seeing what I wanted to continue with. That was really nice.